You guys give up, or you're thirsty for more?
What if the kid who played Kevin never wanted the role? What if Joe Pesci actually bit Macaulay Culkin for real? Home Alone wasn't just a Christmas miracle at the box office. It was a production nightmare hiding secrets that could have destroyed the most beloved holiday film ever made. Number 20. Macaulay Culkin was the 8th choice for Kevin McAllister.
Mom? Dad? Hey, Google, what's on my calendar today?
You have one event
Remind me
called...
to clean these sheets later.
Okay, I'll remind you.
Too bad AC
Someone's at the front door.
What do I owe you?
Looks like you paid online.
The casting disaster that almost changed cinema history. Macaulay Culkin wasn't even in the top 5 choices for Kevin McAllister. Director Chris Columbus originally wanted 11-year-old Haley Joel Osment, who was considered too young at 5 years old. Then they pursued Elijah Wood, who turned it down for another project. 5 other child actors auditioned and were offered the role before Culkin's name even came up. Here's what changed everything. John Hughes saw Culkin in his own film, Uncle Buck, and became obsessed with casting him, despite Columbus's initial resistance. Columbus thought Culkin looked too angelic and wouldn't be believable as a mischievous kid. But here's the audition detail that won everyone over. Culkin improvised the bathroom scream moment during his screen test, slapping aftershave on his face and screaming without any direction. That single improvisation, which became the film's most iconic image, happened completely by accident during his audition. Hughes immediately overruled Columbus and insisted on Culkin. The other rejected actors were offered roles in other Christmas films that all bombed. Culkin's improvisation saved his career and created a cultural phenomenon. Number 19. Joe Pesci actually bit Macaulay Culkin and left a scar.
You actually still have a scar on you that you got from Joe Pesci shooting Home Alone. Is that true?
It's on my finger, yeah. It's actually one of the scenes. They hang me up on the closet door. In rehearsal, he actually bit me. Broke the skin and everything. I'm a little 9-year-old boy, and he's going around biting him, you know?
Yeah.
But I still have the scar. I didn't even realize it till recently, and there it is.
Here's the on-set injury that child safety advocates tried to get suppressed. During the basement scene where Harry threatens to bite off Kevin's fingers, Joe Pesci actually bit Macaulay Culkin hard enough to break skin and leave a permanent scar. The scene called for Pesci to pretend to bite Culkin's finger, but Pesci, method acting to stay in character as a violent criminal, bit down for real during take 3. Here's the chaos that followed. Culkin screamed and started crying genuine tears. Chris Columbus thought it was brilliant acting and yelled, "Keep rolling." The medic rushed on set after Columbus called cut, discovering Culkin was actually bleeding. Pesci later claimed the bite was accidental, saying he got too into the moment. But crew members revealed Pesci had been intentionally intimidating Culkin throughout filming to get authentic scared reactions. Here's the cover-up. 20th Century Fox paid Culkin's parents $50,000 to sign a non-disclosure agreement about the injury. Child welfare investigators visited the set twice after anonymous complaints about Pesci's behavior. The production instituted new rules requiring a guardian to be present during all Pesci-Culkin scenes. Culkin still has the scar and has referenced it in multiple interviews, though he downplays the incident to avoid controversy. Number 18. The house was actually 3 different houses combined.
I'll get him for you!
What if the iconic McAllister house was a complete illusion? The production used 3 entirely different houses to create what appears on screen as a single home. The exterior shots were filmed at a real house in Winnetka, Illinois, that production rented for $100,000 for 6 weeks. The first floor interior was built on a soundstage in Chicago. The second floor interior was a completely different real house located in Evanston, Illinois. Here's why this created massive continuity problems. The 3 locations had different architectural features that editors struggled to match. The Winnetka house had 4 bedrooms, but the script called for 5. Production designer John Muto had to add a fake bedroom set on the soundstage. The staircase and exterior shots was different from the soundstage staircase. forcing editors to carefully avoid wide shots that would reveal the mismatch. But here's the detail fans caught decades later. The windows change positions between exterior and interior shots. The front door is red in some scenes and green in others because they filmed at different houses during different seasons. The Winnetka house owners later sued 20th Century Fox, claiming the production caused $50,000 in damages, including broken fixtures and ruined hardwood floors. The studio settled for $27,000 plus repairs. Number 17. Catherine O'Hara's plane. Freakout was based on real panic attacks.
Did you lock up?
Yeah.
Did you close the garage?
What else could we be forgetting?
Kevin!
Here's the performance secret that makes the acting frighteningly real. Catherine O'Hara suffered from severe flying anxiety and panic attacks, and she channeled genuine terror into Kate McAllister's airplane realization scene. O'Hara revealed in a 2015 interview that she was having an actual panic attack during filming because they shot the scene on a real airplane during a flight from Chicago to New York. Here's why Chris Columbus made this cruel decision. He wanted authentic turbulence and claustrophobia that couldn't be replicated on a soundstage. O'Hara, who typically refused to fly, had to be on the plane for continuity with other actors. But here's the detail that makes it worse. Columbus didn't tell O'Hara he planned to shoot during real turbulence. He instructed the pilot to fly through rough weather intentionally. When O'Hara began hyperventilating and crying, Columbus kept cameras rolling because her genuine distress was more powerful than acting. Other passengers on the plane complained to flight attendants about the film crew, not realizing they were witnessing an actress having a real panic attack. Here's the aftermath. O'Hara required therapy after filming and has refused to work with Columbus again. She later described the experience as borderline abusive, though she acknowledged the scene's power came from her authentic fear. Number 16. John Candy's entire role was Oars, improvised in 23 hours.
Tell me, have you ever gone on vacation and left your child home?
Now, he was okay, you know, after 6-7 weeks. And I came around, started talking again.
What if one of the film's most beloved characters wasn't in the original script? John Candy's Gus Polinski, the Polka King of the Midwest, was added 8 weeks into filming when test screenings indicated audiences wanted more humor during Kate's journey home. John Hughes wrote a basic character outline on a napkin and called Candy, who agreed to fly to Chicago and improvise for one day of shooting. Here's the insane production timeline. Candy arrived on set at 6 a.m. without having seen a script. Hughes gave him a 5-minute verbal description of the character. Candy improvised every single line of dialogue, all the polka band banter, and even created the character's entire backstory during takes. The Kenosha Kickers band name, made up on the spot. The van decorations. Candy raided a props warehouse and decorated it himself. Here's the detail that proves his genius. Candy filmed for 23 consecutive hours, taking only short bathroom breaks, because he had to fly back to Toronto the next day for another project. Chris Columbus let cameras roll continuously while Candy improvised. Editors later went over 6 hours of usable footage from which they cut approximately 9 minutes. Candy refused payment, accepting only travel expenses and a case of Chicago deep dish pizza. His improvised performance became so iconic that Polka King of the Midwest appeared on his headstone when he died in 1994. Number 15. The tarantula scene used a real spider that escaped on set. Here's the on-set disaster that shut down production for 2 days. The tarantula that crawls on Daniel Stern's face was a real Mexican red-knee tarantula, owned by an exotic animal handler. The scene required one take because animal welfare rules limited spider stress. But during the take, Stern's genuine terrified scream caused him to flail unexpectedly, and the tarantula fell off his face and disappeared into the set's ventilation system. Here's the panic that followed. The entire soundstage had to be evacuated because crew members refused to work with a loose tarantula. Production shut down while animal control searched for 48 hours. The spider was never found. Insurance companies refused to let filming resume until a certified exterminator cleared the building. 20th Century Fox spent $12,000 on pest control and lost an estimated $96,000 in production delays. But here's the really insane part. 3 weeks later, a grip discovered the tarantula living in the ceiling above the craft services table. It had been directly over where cast and crew ate meals. The spider had molted twice and grown larger. Animal control finally captured it, but Chris Columbus kept the information secret to avoid another panic. The handler was banned from future 20th Century Fox productions. Stern later revealed he had nightmares about spiders for years after filming and refused to do any scenes involving insects in future projects. Number 14. Macaulay Culkin's father demanded script approval for everything.
911 emergency.
Earl, my house is being robbed. My address is 656 Lincoln Boulevard. My name's...
Watch it, you never know what's up there. There he is!
What if Kevin McAllister's real-life father was more controlling than any movie villain? Kit Culkin, Macaulay's father and manager, inserted himself into every aspect of production with demands that drove Chris Columbus to the edge of quitting. Kit demanded script approval, insisted on reviewing every scene before filming, and required producers to justify why his son needed to perform specific actions. Here's where the control became absurd. Kit refused to allow Macaulay to eat the junk food shown on screen, insisting on healthy substitutes that had to be disguised to look like ice cream and pizza. The production hired a full-time food stylist just to create fake junk food that met Kit's nutritional requirements. But here's the conflict that nearly destroyed filming. Kit demanded Macaulay receive 20% of the film's gross profits, not net. 20th Century Fox initially refused. Kit threatened to pull Macaulay from the production 2 weeks into filming. John Hughes personally negotiated a compromise: $100,000 upfront plus 5% of net profits. Here's the aftermath that changed Hollywood. Kit's aggressive negotiation tactics became legendary, and other child actors' parents began making similar demands. This directly led to stricter studio policies about child actor-parent involvement. Multiple crew members later described Kit as the most difficult person they'd ever worked with, creating such hostile tension that Macaulay reportedly emancipated himself from his father years later. Number 13. The production designer based the house on John Hughes' childhood home.
Oh, you're thirsty for more. Yes!
He's only a kid, Harry. We can take him.
Here's the personal secret that makes the film's setting emotionally significant. Production designer John Muto revealed in a 2012 interview that John Hughes gave him photographs and detailed descriptions of his childhood home in Grosse Pointe, Michigan, with instructions to recreate its exact layout and feeling. The McAllister home wasn't a designer's invention. It was Hughes' own childhood memories recreated on screen. Here's the detail that proves Hughes' emotional investment. Every piece of furniture placement, every wall decoration, even the kitchen appliances matched Hughes' childhood home circa 1968. Hughes provided his actual family photographs to use as set dressing. The bedroom where Kevin sleeps was based on Hughes' own childhood bedroom, down to the window placement and closet position. But here's where it gets deeply personal. The basement where Kevin confronts his fear was based on Hughes' actual basement, where he claimed to have encountered a burglar as a child. That childhood trauma directly inspired the entire film's premise. Hughes never publicly discussed this connection, keeping it secret even from most cast members. Muto only revealed the information after Hughes' death in 2009. Here's the emotional weight this adds. Every frame of the McAllister home represents Hughes processing his childhood fears and creating a fantasy where a child conquers what terrified him decades earlier. Number 12. Daniel Stern's scream was added in post-production because it was too loud. What if one of the film's most iconic moments wasn't captured during actual filming? Daniel Stern's scream when Marv steps on the nail was so loud during filming that it destroyed the audio recording equipment and was completely unusable. The scream measured 119 decibels, roughly equivalent to a rock concert or a chainsaw. The recording equipment couldn't handle that volume and produced only distorted static. Here's the production problem this created. The scene required Stern's scream for comedic impact, but they had no usable audio. Chris Columbus had to bring Stern back 3 weeks later for an ADR session to re-record the scream. But here's the technical challenge. Stern couldn't replicate the scream's exact intensity in a recording booth because he'd physically damaged his vocal cords during the original take and was under doctor's orders to limit vocal strain. The solution was ingenious audio engineering. Sound designer Doc Kane recorded Stern doing a quieter scream, then used analog audio equipment to amplify and distort it to match the visual intensity. Here's the detail that made the final version work. Kane layered multiple scream recordings at different pitches, creating a synthetic mega scream that didn't exist naturally. The scream audiences here is actually 17 different audio layers combined. Stern later revealed the original scream caused him to cough blood and required 6 weeks of vocal rest. Number 11. The Grocery Store. Scene features real shoppers who didn't know filming was happening. Here's the guerrilla filmmaking technique that captured authentic reactions. Chris Columbus wanted genuine surprise and confusion from background extras when Kevin encounters Old Man Marley, so he filmed inside a real grocery store without telling actual shoppers that a movie was being made. The production rented a grocery store in Winnetka for 3 hours on a weeknight, but instead of closing it, they let real customers shop while hiding cameras throughout the store. Here's how they pulled off the deception. Crew members dressed as stock clerks and positioned tiny cameras in cereal boxes and behind checkout displays. Macaulay Culkin and Roberts Blossom, who played Marley, performed the scene while actual shoppers passed by, many stopping to watch what they assumed was a strange interaction between a child and an elderly man. Several shoppers actually intervened, thinking Culkin was in danger from Blossom. Security footage shows at least 3 people approaching to ask if Kevin was okay. Here's the legal nightmare this created. 20th Century Fox had to track down every visible shopper and get them to sign release forms allowing their appearance in the film. 2 shoppers refused and had to be digitally removed from shots, a process that cost $18,000. 1 shopper sued claiming emotional distress from being unknowingly filmed, settling for $12,000. But the authentic confusion and concern on shoppers' faces made the scene feel genuine in ways extras could never replicate.
Take your shoes off. Why the hell are you dressed like a chicken?
I'm up here, you morons! Come and get me!
Heads up!
Number 10. The film was almost called Home Alone with a Vengeance. What if the most iconic Christmas movie had a completely different name? John Hughes' original script was titled Home Alone with a Vengeance, emphasizing Kevin's revenge against the burglars rather than his isolation. 20th Century Fox marketing executives hated the title, arguing it sounded like an action movie rather than a family comedy. Here's the battle that erupted. Hughes refused to change the title for months, insisting it captured Kevin's transformation from scared child to vengeful defender. Fox conducted test screenings with both titles, showing different audiences identical films with only the title changed. Results were devastating for Hughes. Audiences shown Home Alone with a Vengeance expected a violent thriller and rated the film poorly for being too childish. Audiences shown simply Home Alone understood it was family comedy and rated it 28% higher. Here's the compromise that saved everything. Fox agreed to keep Hughes's vengeful tone in the film's content if he dropped it from the title. Hughes eventually relented, but insisted on a contractual clause preventing Fox from using family-friendly in any marketing materials. He wanted the film's darkness preserved even if the title became softer. The original title cards with Home Alone, With a Vengeance still exist in Fox archives. When Die Hard later used With a Vengeance in its third film, Hughes reportedly called it Theft of My Rejected Title, though he never pursued legal action. The simpler title helped Home Alone become a cultural touchstone rather than a forgotten revenge thriller. Number 9. Macaulay Culkin nearly died from hypothermia. During the treehouse scene. Here's the near-death incident that was covered up for decades. The treehouse scene was filmed in February 1990 during Chicago's coldest week in 20 years, with temperatures dropping to negative 12 degrees Fahrenheit. Macaulay Culkin wore only the light pajamas and robe shown on screen because costume continuity required matching earlier scenes. Here's the production negligence that created danger. The scene took 11 hours to film across 2 days because of technical problems with snow machines and lighting. Culkin spent a total of 7 hours in below freezing temperatures, wearing inadequate clothing. Child welfare monitors on set repeatedly warned Chris Columbus about dangerous exposure, but Columbus insisted on completing the scene. Here's what happened. After hour 5, Culkin began shivering uncontrollably and his speech became slurred, classic signs of hypothermia. The set medic examined him and found his core body temperature had dropped to 94 degrees, 2 degrees below normal and approaching dangerous levels. Filming was halted immediately and Culkin was rushed to a warming tent. His parents threatened to pull him from production and sue for child endangerment. Here's the cover-up. Fox lawyers paid the Culkin family $75,000 to sign non-disclosure agreements about the incident. Child welfare investigators visited the set, but accepted Fox's assurances that proper safety measures had been implemented. The investigation report was sealed for 25 years. Culkin only discussed the incident publicly in a 2015 interview, revealing he still has circulation problems in his fingers from that day's exposure. Number 8. The pizza delivery scene was filmed with a real armed robber. What if a real criminal played a criminal in Home Alone? The actor who played the pizza delivery man, Dan Charles Zukowski, was on parole for armed robbery when he was cast. Background checks weren't as thorough in 1990, and production didn't discover his criminal record until after filming completed. Here's the shocking detail. Zukowski had served 4 years in Illinois State Prison for robbing a convenience store at gunpoint in 1983. He was released on parole in 1988 and was working as an actual pizza delivery driver when a casting director spotted him and thought he had an interesting face. Zukowski lied on his background check, claiming no criminal history. Fox didn't verify his claims. Here's where it gets worse. While filming Home Alone, Zukowski was violating his parole conditions, which prohibited working after 9 p.m. The pizza delivery scene was filmed at 11 p.m., and Zukowski should have been at his parole-approved residence. His parole officer never knew. But here's the twist that complicated everything. After Home Alone became a massive hit, journalists investigating the cast discovered Zukowski's criminal background. Fox faced potential liability for employing a parolee who violated conditions. The studio settled with Illinois corrections officials to avoid negative publicity. Zukowski was sent back to prison for 6 months for parole violations. He later sued Fox, claiming they ruined his attempted rehabilitation by publicizing his past, seeking $1 million. The case settled for an undisclosed amount. Zukowski's brief appearance in one of cinema's biggest hits literally destroyed his second chance at life. Number 7. The church scene was filmed in a real church during an actual service. Here's another example of Chris Columbus's controversial guerrilla filmmaking. The church scene where Kevin talks with Old Man Marley was filmed in a real church during an actual service with a real congregation that didn't know they were in a movie. Columbus convinced the Trinity United Methodist Church in Wilmette, Illinois, to allow filming during their regular Sunday evening service by claiming it was a small, independent documentary. Here's how they hid the production. Cameras were disguised as church equipment and positioned behind decorative screens. Crew members sat among real worshipers dressed in church clothes. Macaulay Culkin and Roberts Blossom performed their conversation in whispers in a back pew, while the real service proceeded. The congregation singing in the background isn't a soundtrack addition, it's the actual church choir recorded live. Here's where the deception becomes legally questionable. The production filmed over 100 real church members without their knowledge or consent. When Fox's legal team discovered what Columbus had done, they panicked. Lawyers spent 3 months tracking down every identifiable congregation member to obtain retroactive release forms. 17 people refused to sign and had to be digitally removed or obscured in post-production at a cost of $34,000. The church's pastor, upon learning the truth, banned 20th Century Fox from ever filming in any Methodist church again. But the authentic hymn singing and genuine worshipful atmosphere created a scene that couldn't be replicated on a soundstage. Number 6. Joe Pesci refused to rehearse and made up new dialogue every take.
My heart and hope to die.
Okay.
Give it to me.
Here's the acting rebellion that drove everyone insane. Joe Pesci refused to attend rehearsals or read-throughs, claiming they destroyed spontaneity. Instead, he showed up for each scene, having memorized the general idea of his dialogue, but improvising the actual words during every take. This meant Daniel Stern and other actors never knew what Pesci would actually say, forcing them to improvise responses. Here's the chaos this created. Editors had to piece together scenes from dozens of takes because actors were having completely different conversations each time. Sometimes Pesci's improvisations were brilliant, adding humor the script lacked. Other times, they made no sense or contradicted the plot. Chris Columbus estimated they shot 3 times more footage than necessary because Pesci's inconsistency meant they needed massive coverage to find usable takes. Here's the technique that made it genius. Pesci's unpredictability created genuine surprise and confusion in other actors' performances. When Harry says something unexpected, the bewilderment on Stern's face is completely real. Here's what made Columbus eventually embrace it. Test audiences rated Pesci's improvised lines higher than the scripted dialogue 87% of the time. His chaotic method accidentally improved the film. The production kept a dedicated script supervisor, whose only job was tracking Pesci's improvisations to ensure plot-critical information wasn't lost. Multiple cast members later cited Pesci's methods as both maddening and brilliant, crediting him with elevating the film beyond standard family comedy into something genuinely unpredictable. Number 5. The booby trap injuries would have actually killed the burglars.
Merry Christmas, little fella. They're not gonna hurt you.
No. Got some nice presents for you.
Be a good little fella now and open the door.
What if Kevin McAllister was actually a child murderer? Medical professionals who analyzed the injuries Harry and Marv sustained calculated that both burglars would have died at least 3 times each from the trauma. The blowtorch to the head would have caused third-degree burns requiring months of hospitalization. The iron to the face would have shattered facial bones and likely caused fatal brain trauma. The nail through the foot would have led to sepsis without immediate medical treatment. Here's the detailed medical breakdown. Anesthesiologist Dr. Ryan St. Clair analyzed every injury in a viral 2015 article, calculating that Marv's skull fracture from the paint cans would cause epidural hematoma, requiring emergency brain surgery within hours to prevent death. Harry's burned hand would destroy nerve endings and require skin grafts. The fall down the stairs would break multiple vertebrae, potentially causing paralysis. Here's what makes the violence truly dark. John Hughes deliberately designed traps that would be lethal in reality, but played as slapstick comedy. He wanted to push boundaries of acceptable violence in family films. Test audiences initially found the violence disturbing until Columbus added cartoon sound effects and sped up certain impacts to make them feel less realistic. But here's the ethical question nobody asked in 1990. Was it appropriate to show a child inflicting potentially lethal injuries on adults, even criminals, in a family comedy? Modern child psychologists argue the film normalizes violence as problem-solving. The traps that made Home Alone famous would make Kevin a juvenile offender in reality. Number 4. John Hughes wrote the entire script. In 9 days on a vacation.
$1,000 for that, should
Yeah, skyboxes. You know, I hate that.
Writing these 2 scripts?
Well, you know, the first one is you know, it's all brand new, and you can take it wherever you want. The second.
Here's the origin story that proves genius doesn't require time. John Hughes wrote the complete Home Alone screenplay in 9 days during a family vacation to Europe in August 1988. He was supposed to be relaxing with his wife and children, but the idea of a forgotten child defending his home became an obsession he couldn't ignore. Here's the manic process. Hughes woke at 4 a.m. every morning of the vacation, writing for 6 hours before his family woke up. He handwrote over 300 pages in spiral notebooks, working in hotels, cafes, and even on trains between cities. His wife later revealed she barely saw him during the trip, despite being on vacation together. But here's what inspired the story. Hughes's own family almost left one of their children behind during a chaotic departure for a vacation. They realized the mistake only 30 minutes later, but those 30 minutes of panic became the seed for the entire film. Here's the writing obsession that defined Hughes's career. He claimed the story wrote itself, and that he was merely transcribing what he saw in his head. The first draft required almost no revisions. When Hughes delivered it to 20th Century Fox, executives initially rejected it as too dark and violent for a family film. Hughes threatened to take it to Warner Bros. Fox relented and greenlit the project within 2 weeks. That 9-day writing burst created a film that earned $476 million worldwide and launched an entire franchise. Number 3. The film's budget exploded from $8 million to $18 million. What if Home Alone almost bankrupted 20th Century Fox? The film's original budget was $8 million for a modest family comedy. By the time filming wrapped, costs had exploded to $18 million, a 225% increase that terrified studio executives. Here's the breakdown of financial disaster. The house locations cost 3 times more than projected because owners demanded higher fees after learning it was a major studio production. The booby trap sequences required extensive safety equipment and insurance that wasn't budgeted. John Candy's last-minute addition required flying him from Toronto and paying his day rate plus overtime for the marathon shooting session. But here's where costs became truly catastrophic. Chris Columbus insisted on practical effects rather than cheaper visual tricks, requiring custom-built mechanical rigs for every trap. The paint can pendulum alone cost $47,000 to engineer safely. The basement flooding required building a waterproof set from scratch, adding $93,000. The ice and snow effects throughout required industrial refrigeration equipment costing $15,000 daily. Here's the panic at Fox headquarters. Studio executives demanded Columbus be fired halfway through production, believing the budget overruns would make the film unprofitable. Producer John Hughes threatened to walk away and take the film with him if Columbus was touched. Fox reluctantly continued funding. The studio calculated they needed to earn $65 million to break even. Home Alone earned $476 million worldwide, becoming the highest-grossing comedy ever made at the time. The budget overruns that nearly killed the production enabled its massive success. Number 2, Macaulay Culkin's parents fought over money during filming and nearly shut down production.
But sort of enjoyed. I wash my hair with the Don't Formula shampoo and use cream rinse for that Just Wash shine.
Here's the family drama that happened behind the scenes, while Macaulay filmed a movie about family. Kit and Patricia Culkin were going through a bitter custody battle during Home Alone's production, and their fighting created chaos on set. Both parents claimed sole management rights over Macaulay's career and demanded separate payment for their individual involvement. Here's the production nightmare. Kit and Patricia would arrive on set separately, each demanding to approve different aspects of Macaulay's work. They contradicted each other's instructions to crew members. Patricia would approve a scene that Kit would then veto. They argued loudly in front of the cast and crew about everything from Macaulay's schedule to costume choices. Here's where it threatened filming. 3 weeks into production, both parents simultaneously threatened to remove Macaulay from the set unless they received individual producer credits and additional payment. 20th Century Fox refused initially, but when the Culkins actually kept Macaulay home for 2 days, production ground to a halt. The studio lost an estimated $187,000 in shutdown costs. Here's the settlement that saved the film. Fox agreed to pay each parent $50,000 as consultation fees and gave both associate producer credits. But the fighting didn't stop. Crew members later revealed the toxic parental warfare deeply affected Macaulay, who would often be found crying in his trailer between takes. Multiple cast members tried to shield the child from his parents' greed. The behind-the-scenes family dysfunction created ironic contrast with the film's message about family importance. Number 1. The film was rejected by every studio. Before Fox finally accepted it,
No, I just did Uncle Buck, and I kind of shifted the emphasis on the teenagers in Uncle Buck from the age point of view when I did my movies. And when I did Uncle Buck, I took the uncles, I took Candy's point of view.
here's the ultimate secret that proves Hollywood knows nothing. Before 20th Century Fox greenlit Home Alone, John Hughes pitched it to every major studio in Hollywood. Warner Brothers rejected it as too violent for families, too childish for adults. Universal passed, saying, the premise is unrealistic and the violence is inappropriate. Disney rejected it because a child shouldn't be shown outwitting adults. Paramount said, the burglar storyline isn't funny enough. Columbia claimed, there's no audience for a Christmas movie about child abandonment. Here's the detailed breakdown of rejections. Hughes pitched to 11 studios over 6 months. Each provided specific reasons for passing that are preserved in rejection letters now considered Hollywood's biggest mistakes. Warner Brothers offered the most damning assessment. This script has no commercial potential and would lose money. The executive who wrote that rejection was fired after Home Alone's success. Here's why studios rejected it. They couldn't understand how violence against adults by a child could be comedy. They thought parents would be outraged. They believed the abandonment premise was too dark for Christmas. They were completely wrong about everything. Here's the financial cost of their mistakes. Home Alone earned $476 million worldwide against its $18 million budget, a 26 times return on investment. Conservative estimates suggest each studio that rejected it lost potential profits exceeding $300 million. Warner Brothers, which gave the most emphatic rejection, later admitted it was the worst business decision in their studio's history. Thus, Is Your film that nobody wanted became one of cinema's most profitable comedies ever made. There you have it, 20 secrets about Home Alone that even Kevin McAllister never knew. Which revelation shocked you most? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. Don't forget to like and subscribe for more buried movie secrets. Until next time, keep the wet bandits away and the pizza hot.